search out of searching. When I'm doing
it's watching search. It's intelligent watching.
Because when I'm creating an agent,
Extremely e-commerce application used heavily by companies like Amazon. Oh, you bought this book, you might like these 3 books too. At the same time, it looks at your patterns of behavior and reacts to those patterns of behavior.
Big brother.
Yeah.
Yes?
Do you think that the reason we have mostly structured is that somebody decides that this is an appropriate thing for various people to know and codifies that information and therefore, structures it?
You are hitting the nail on the head. That's 2 slides from now. But no, that's perfect, because basically what you're saying is it's an organizational view of learning. The organization, the whatever. I mean, it could be a school, it could be a company.
It's very, very difficult normally to get people to contribute anything, really. Because they're so busy doing their job. I mean, I do some work with content management, and to get people to meta tag content, to get them to contribute in the first place is hard. To get them to tag it properly is almost impossible.
So here's a great example.
Now going another
step further
beyond that, not just throwing in a document, but maybe somehow adding some kind of tacit information to that content.
So Jim, what's the company with the story?
United Healthcare.
United Healthcare.
Yeah, we were out at a seminar and we got to talking about this very thing, and it has to do with the baby boomer generation or the traditionalists. So the retiring workforce that has all the tacit knowledge, is about to retire and go out the door. They actually put in a system where they would provide bonuses.
Royalties.
For royalties. So you put this
for contribution of content
onto the collaborative site, and then based on the usage, you get a check.
It's in iTunes.
Yeah.
So based on the number.
Money.
Yeah.
So it worked.
They didn't have to do it with the millennials because they collaborate and contribute anyway. But the baby boomers who have the content, millennials don't have the content in their head, had the IP, contributed nuggets, reusable learning objects to this portal. The portal then categorized it based on popularity and paid out royalties.
I'll bet
cool
the
idea.
Dollar amounts could be relatively minimal, and people would still be pretty interested.
And how much value?
So
that's right.
To do it. Score like
Yeah, I've got the number one.
$10.
Yeah.
Made $10. But,
Holy cow! Though mine was the most used piece of content this month.
It's just a way of keeping
score.
score.
Can you beat me?
Yeah.
Not impressive if you never got a check.
Yeah, because then you should probably go ahead and retire because your IP isn't valuable to the organization. I know. So Swami, can I call you that? Because it's just
Swan.
Swan. Not Swami. Swami works actually better, I think. I know, Guru. Okay. Well, the 2 gurus in the front row today. So to your point, we're going to do a little bit of a matrix dance here, where we're going to look at the pros and cons of on the job versus just in case, and we're going to compare the pros of on the job to the cons of just in case, because those 2 really across the matrix are the 2, and then we'll compare the others as well. So the pros on the job is just in time. So you need this is learning at the moment of need. The problem with the just in case is that it's just because. It's the opposite of that, right? I went and got a degree in genetics just because my dad said I should. But it had nothing to do with me making a living or anything that I was studying at the time, because I grew up in Santa Cruz and I was surfing. So surfing and genetics had nothing to do with each other. Whereas today, I don't go to class to learn genetics or law, because I have nothing to do with law in my work. I go to learn about reusable learning objects and SCORM compliance and things like that. On-the-job training, immediate results. So you can quickly get access to what you need when you need it immediately. Delayed results. You have to wait till the end of the course, or you have to, if you're in a 5-day class and you're sitting there for 5 days, you're not going back to the job and applying what you learned. You have to wait till next week. In some cases, you have to wait till you graduate. On the job learning is real, because you're on the job in a classroom, or even with e-learning, it's simulated. We try really hard at Toolwire to simulate. We use live equipment. We make it as real as possible, but it's still not on the job, right? It's still in a controlled, non-production environment. Because it's real, because it's relevant, because we live in a society where instant gratification is more important than anything, it's much more engaging learning when it's on the job because it's relevant to what we're doing and we care about it. Over here, less engaging. Organic chemistry, never used it in my entire life. And I mean, it was incredibly boring. Finally, and this is your point, on the job is the individual view. This is what I need when I need it. The more structured just-in-case learning has an organizational view. The content is presented to the students because it's the content that some organizing body, the organization, the corporation, the school, some governing body has determined is the right content for you to learn. Now, it might not be for you to learn, but it's what the organization needs. So therefore, everybody has to go in and study that material, which makes it less relevant to the individual, which makes it less engaging, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so those are the keys. I want you to keep those in mind because we're going to come back to them in just a moment. On the other side, let's take a look at the cons of on the job to the pros of just in case. And these are some of the pros that I think are pretty valuable. This is why we still do structured learning. It's linear. People think in a linear way. It's easy for people to catalog information when it's linear, and it's much easier for us to measure and track information when it's linear. Chaos theory. I mean, one day you're on the job and maybe you need to learn how to use Microsoft Word, and the next thing you need to learn how to use your voicemail system, and the next thing you need to study some compliance. Those three things have nothing to do with each other. So it ends up becoming a random hodgepodge of information, not a linear structured knowledge base.
Well, and I would say that by the time you've learned the thing, what you need it for is past.
Yeah. So it might not even be immediate enough.
It's not necessarily just in time.
It's just past, but it's a heck of a lot more in time than the classroom per se. Unless in the classroom the organization is anticipating what you might need to know when you go back to work and they're teaching you ahead of time. Just in case, structured learning has a much broader range of skills. So you're dealing with, you learn kind of the entire caveat of what you might need, the spectrum. Because on the job is chaotic, you end up with silos of narrow skills. I know how to use voicemail, but I only know how to use AT&T voicemail, and I know how to do, whereas instead of, maybe if you went to a class, you would learn kind of the entire theory of voicemail and how systems are built, that kind of thing. So a much more kind of bigger picture, I guess, is the point we're making here. And because of that, you can catalog the skills. This is the most important one, I think. Structured, just-in-case learning systems allow you to track, measure, assess, and then catalog those skills, which are very important for the organization. So this isn't necessarily a con over here, organizational view. It's just different. Over here, you can't catalog these skills because they're chaotic silos. So if you take a look at the strengths of on-the-job and just-in-case, this basically gives you your definition of the nexus of learning. The Nirvana learning system, is going to be linear, promote a broad range of skills, support some cataloging for the organization, whereas it's also going to be just in time, give you those immediate results, more engaging from the individual's perspective. So if you take all those words and you put them into a random sentence generator, you come up with this. A just-in-time linear learning program with real engaging content. So you're trying to create as engaging as real content as possible. It's just in time, but it's linear. I don't know how you accomplish that, but it's tailored for the individual learner. So there's that prescriptive kind of personalization element. That fosters a broad range of relevant skills for the benefit of the organization. Okay, I mean, we got all 9 pros and cons into one sentence, so we can digest that sentence for a minute. But in effect, what we did is the genesis of this entire presentation was some projects we were doing for people like the Navy and EDS and some large companies where they had similar problems, and we came up with some pretty creative approaches. So I'll be talking about some examples of not quite 100% here, but pretty close.